live. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome the small but mighty crowd this morning. Welcome to Unity of Wimberley, our live stream service for Sunday, November 14th. Thank you. Thanks, Leah. 2021. So glad that you're here. So glad that you're here in the room. And thank you for those of you joining us on the line this morning. I guess we're just going to go ahead and get started. My name is Reverend Kit Holmes. If you don't know me online, I think everybody in the room does. Hi, good to see you. So good to see you. And if you feel so inclined to start by standing and get some energy moving, let's do some singing, shall we? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Love. I live I live in the spirit of love, because love lives in me. I move in the spirit of love. I move in the spirit of love. I move in the spirit of love, because love moves in me. I reach out in the spirit of love, in the spirit of love. I reach out in the spirit of love. I reach out in the spirit of love, because love reaches out through me. I heal in the spirit of love, in the spirit of love. I heal in the spirit of love. Yeah, I heal in the spirit of love, because love heals in me. And here we go. Live free in the spirit of love. We're free in the spirit of love. We're free in the spirit of love, because love sets us free. Yeah, because love sets us free. Yeah, because love sets us free.
Good morning. Okay, so let's start off by affirming together our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power, active in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. And our vision and mission statement, let's unite our spirits together. We are an open-hearted spiritual community, powerfully transforming our world by honoring the sacred in all. And our mission statement, inspired by our shared spiritual awakening, we offer practical teachings that empower healthy, abundant, and meaningful living. Okay, so our Science of Mind reading today, Ernest Holmes said, "As you learn to release all your burdens to the right action of God, you will find that everything falls into its proper place. Then peace, security, and fulfillment come with ease, and there's a sense of joy and accomplishment." Today's reading is from the Science of Mind's Guide for Spiritual Living, entitled Top of the World by Reverend Dr. Petra Welds. Sometimes I stop and ask myself, haven't you worked hard enough, struggled enough, improved yourself enough yet? Have you stopped to see how far you've already come? Life is like a journey. There are valleys to traverse, mountains to climb, and rivers to cross. We can get so focused on our goals, intentions, dreams, and desires that all we notice is how far we still have to go. When we stand on a peak of awareness, there is always another peak to climb. It's vital to take the time to turn around and notice all the peaks and valleys through which we've already traversed. Celebrate those moments when you feel you are on top of the world. You've earned it. You've given plenty of sweat to the effort it takes to become aware of an old pattern, break a habit, try something new, or become more of yourself. Your diligent spiritual practice has given you moments of clarity, insight, connection, and a deep sense of peace. Your persistence in sticking to an affirmation, building a strong mental equivalent, and demonstrating a result is a powerful accomplishment. The faith and trust you've built in your intuition and inspiration didn't happen overnight. Embrace the moment. Stand on top of the world and celebrate. And the affirmation is, I pay attention for moments of spiritual and personal accomplishment. I breathe in the view from the top of every mountain climbed and valley crossed along my spiritual path. And now, with our gathering prayer, Cecilia Timon.
Good morning. So let's gather ourselves into prayer. I invite you to take a nice deep breath. Feel your heartbeat. And know that all of these things are evidence that we are one with God. So I affirm that God's love is in action here. I know that the divine flow is within me. I know that God's flow is constant. I am aware how grace works in my favor constantly, always available, always there when I need it. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that grace restores and heals me. I'm grateful that my mind and my heart are free to feel divine grace. And I pray this in the name and nature of the divine, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Cecilia. I see you crying, and trouble is running your life. You think you got nowhere else to go. You say you feel like you're dying, dying inside, and you're running out of the things you think you know. Get quiet. Get quiet and be still, and make some room for the answer to come on through. You gotta get quiet. Get quiet and be still, 'cause nothing's gonna change until you turn it over and turn turn away from the things that are weighing you down. Turn it over, and when you let it go, you'll find things turning around. You're so determined, you're so determined to be right. You think you gotta have it all under control. But come on, forget that foolish pride that keeps you living so low. Get quiet, get quiet and be still. The answer is waiting on you to hear. You gotta get quiet. This ain't about forcing your will. You're a miracle. It's so very near. Turn it over. And turn away from the things that are weighing you down. Turn it over, and when you let it go, you'll find things turning around. Turn it over, turn it over. When you find your need down on the ground, turn it over, and when you let it go, you'll find things, yes, Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. When I write songs, and I think I've shared this before, I write a song with something, an intention in mind, and oftentimes years later, the reason that I wrote it shows up. That is, Jason, I'm going to set this here. It's got a lid on it. Don't shoot me. Okay. I'm a sound person too. I'm a sound person. I'm also an audio engineer, so I know. When the meaning, the layers of meaning keep showing up as we do our work throughout life, those are moments of grace. Those are what I consider moments of grace. When we can look at the past, we can see how far we've come, we can see how far, or the work we think we've done on those days where we feel stuck, like, oh my God, I haven't done enough. But we can look back and see the dots, the God dots getting connected. I'm actually going to read my notes today because you'll get it here in a second. To stand in this place and breathe. Thank you, Leah. I see you're smiling at me from the back saying, remember to breathe. We are talking about the grace of all things today. And the definition of grace, it's one of those things like beauty. Can you define beauty? Can you give a specific, you can say this is something that is beautiful, this is something that feels beautiful, but nobody gets that ineffable thing. It's a feeling. It's an essence. It's a sense of energy within us. So if you look up the definition of grace, it says elegance, poise. If you think about graceful movement, there's elegance to it. There's like this seamless, fluid quality to it. It's balance. Another definition of it, which is where we're going to look at today, is a blessing. And sometimes it's even about forgiveness. Another definition is free, and this was specifically under the Christian definition of it: free and undeserved favor, unmerited divine assistance. We've heard that phrase often, and I know I've said it. There, but by the grace of God go I. I have issue with the word undeserved and unmerited. Yeah, I see nodding heads like everybody's like, oh crap. Sorry. You know what? There you go. I disagree with it because of the perspective that we take in this teaching specifically is that we are always deserving of God's love and support. There is nothing ever held against us. Thank you. From the Metaphysical Bible that Charles Fillmore wrote, that everybody uses, grace, he says, is goodwill. It is favor, disposition to show mercy, aid from God in the process of regeneration. What's the definition of regeneration? I'll tell you. The metaphysical meaning of regeneration is a change in which abundant spiritual life and even eternal life is incorporated into the body. So it's a feeling. Emily Cady talks about the chemicalization when we are moving through things. We literally can change our DNA with changing of our consciousness. The transformation that takes place through bringing all the forces of mind and body to the support of the Christ ideal or the Christ consciousness. It's the unification of spirit, soul, and body in spiritual oneness. That is the metaphysical meaning of regeneration, and grace is in all of that. Dennis Merritt Jones, who's another author, in his book called How to Speak Science of Mind, he says, grace is the givingness of spirit to its own creation, the logical result of the correct acceptance of life and a correct relationship to the spirit. So, again, consciousness, right? So how do we get more of it? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How does it show up in our lives? Grace this week showed up for me as an intuitive hit, well, actually about a week ago, and then it was reinforced by some tough love. I was already feeling it, and then I got some feedback that says, yeah, go with it. And I'll tell you, I do not want to be doing this. But stay with me. What I think of grace as tough love is when someone loves you enough to help you see things differently without condemnation or criticism, while seeing the God in you, while you also see the bigger picture and where you might need to shift a little bit. Over the years, many of you have watched me give some of my first Sunday talks years ago, sitting behind the piano. Because early on, I felt the need to have that piece of furniture in front of me to provide a sense of safety as I was getting my sea legs under me as a speaker. You have been witness to me birthing new songs and following the call to become a minister and a coach. You have held me in your prayers, and I felt you lifting me up when I powered through giving a Sunday talk the day after my mother died 4 years ago. Earlier this summer, you lovingly expressed your support for me and my wife Cindy as we shared dreams and inspirations for things we envisioned in the town that we were moving to in Michigan. And more recently, whether you know it or not, you have been watching me fumble my way through what I need to share with you and to clear up with you today. Addressing the elephant in the room, as it were. For those of you who I've not already told privately, and for those of you who have not already heard the news through the grapevine, Cindy and I are divorcing. This is painful and extraordinarily difficult, made even more so by the fact that by the nature of my position, I have to do this publicly. This is humbling, to say the least. As much as I wanted to keep this private, it is important that you know that I now understand that a change of this kind can have a significant impact on a community such as this. I'm aware that it already has. When you know and love both people involved in a divorce, you can't help but be affected by the change in the relationship. It just comes along with the territory. In my grief and in the pain of processing the end of this relationship and all of the feelings that go with it, I have struggled with how and what to say about it and to whom. On the one hand, yes, it's a very private matter. And on the other, this greater community has loved and cared for both of us. And I know you have questions about how to deal with it and your own pain around the change, about what comes next. All the things a change in a relationship can bring up. Obviously, because of the legal proceedings, there are a lot of things that I won't answer for you. I can't. And nor will I disclose any of the specifics about what happened. What I will say is that if you have ever been through a divorce before, and I know many of you have, that ending a primary relationship, you know that love can still be present, even when what's best for both of you means you don't stay together. I think you know that I strive to live what I teach. I have often spoken about how I have learned that our highest and best rarely shows up in a form that we would prefer. Rarely. Spirit is constantly calling us beyond our growing edge into recognizing that the right thing for our highest expression of itself is rarely the easy thing. There have been moments of extraordinary grace throughout this process already, and thus the grace of all things. I had already decided on that talk title from Jill's last week about the order of all things. So please hear me when I say this to you as my spiritual community, that if the situation with my divorce and my lack of addressing it publicly sooner has added to anyone's distrust or dissatisfaction with me as a member of leadership of this church, I sincerely apologize. I am learning a lot. I am growing, and despite my best efforts to prove otherwise, I am actually human. Perfectly, imperfectly human. And I will not always do things gracefully. But you probably already know that. So I asked for your prayers for both myself and for Cindy, holding the highest and best for both of us. And for all of us. We do that all the time with each other. So thank you for letting me breathe through that, and I'm not done yet. So how do we recognize the moments of grace? How does it feel when we recognize them? Yes, it's okay to take a deep breath. I need to. Yeah. As I said, one of them that came to mind for me is tough love. I had to be shown that my not talking about the divorce was adding to the unrest of many in this community. And that they felt the feedback that I've gotten, that Jill and I have gotten, that there is a lack of transparency from leadership. I get it. And damn. This was a painfully humbling realization that I was a part of that. I don't know about you, but when I'm in emotional distress or feeling particularly vulnerable like this moment, I'm not always very graceful. So another way that grace shows up is in kind of finding your knees down on the ground, as I said in the song, and having to accept what is. I don't like it. We don't have to like it at all. In fact, we can just have a little hissy fit about the whole thing. But until we accept what is, the facts, not our opinion about it, not our judgment around it, not anything else around it, except just looking at the bottom line facts, until we do that, we cannot move forward. And we do not open a space for grace to come in. Part of that then is forgiveness. Again, not our opinion about it, not whether or not something should or should not have happened, but being willing to forgive so that we can free ourselves from the moment of distress, of carrying that burden. Because that is what unforgiveness does. It keeps us stuck. It keeps us beating ourselves up mercilessly about what we could have done, what we should have done, any of that stuff. You all know this. And until we are willing to forgive, even open the door, the first step is to be willing. Not like jump right in and go, okay, I forgive everything all again and I'm done. Not blowing by it either. Not spiritually bypassing, but sitting in the moment of the pain and the distress and the shame and the embarrassment. To sit with those feelings for a minute, knowing and trusting that there is something that we can lean into that will carry us through it. That is part of the surrender. There has to be a moment, by choice or by getting knocked to your knees, that you say, okay, God, I can't do this by myself. Little crack in the door, that's all it is. to open it up, to let the light in, to let a little bit of a fresh breeze in, a little piece of new perspective on this. And being willing to ask for help. Setting aside, as I say in that song, our foolish pride that keeps us living so low. That is hell, my friends. Hanging on to the need to be right rather than allowing your need to be happy, to be at peace. Because in the grander scheme of the grander scheme, this is a blip. It's a pinpoint in time. It's a sharp one. And if I carry that metaphor further, yeah, burst my bubble. Asking for help, not only from God, but more importantly, from other people who are also God expressing, who have been through it, who have a little different perspective, that aren't right sitting in the middle of it with you at the moment. Grace also shows up as us setting aside our small fear-based selves to be in service to someone else. To get out of our own bloated nothingness ways, as Emerson says. Get out of the way of the divine circuits so that grace and love can do its thing. That's a hard one for me. Has been all my life, asking for help. And moments of grace that I've had throughout this process, throughout the move and the divorce and being back here and being in it, all of it. And what comes next for me? I can tell you right now, I don't know. My formal ministry, as it were, has not yet revealed itself. Other than I know that music and writing songs and getting that stuff out of me, that's always been my ministry. But me as official licensed reverend person, I know that I need community. I know I need to be around people who know and love me, who know me well. And I need to be able to trust that I can ask for help. And the moments of grace and dropping in and asking for help have been coming fast and furious. That's just the way it works. I'm in the middle of it. And every day there's a new insight and a thing that says, here you are, look, standing on top of this mountain, looking backwards, going, wow, look at how far I've come and how much I have healed in my lifetime. In my lifetime, just from the time that I found science of mind and new thought more than 20 years ago. I have come lifetimes in that lifetime. And I still am amazed and humbled and brought to my knees by the things that I have been blind to in my own paradigms of how I've coped through the world. I gave a talk a couple of weeks ago at Unity in Traverse City, Michigan, and I talked about this a little bit. And there was one of those moments of grace that had dropped in for me in doing all of this work. And it was that like blinding headlights in my face saying, I have spent my life coping, not thriving, but coping, surviving. And I've done a lot of things. I have accomplished a lot of things because that seed of perfectionism that was planted so early in me, unfortunately, was grounded in that place, said, you're not enough and never will you be. So what do we do with it? We just keep doing more. I kept doing more, accomplishing more in the hopes that I might find some way, someday, to feel like I'm enough, just as I am, and let go of the idea that it had some perfect picture that doesn't exist. I know many of you know this. I see the nodding heads. So I'm practicing right now in front of you. I'm learning to surrender. I'm learning to do it differently. I am finding tremendous support in the most amazing places to do this. There are so many tools out there. But the first thing is to be willing to surrender to it. Something that I've gotten a lot lately from discussions with mentors and other support and people who know me well and know my music. A moment of grace is when someone says to me, "Hey, Kit, why don't you listen to one of your own songs?" So we have the gift of hindsight. We can let it go into regret, or we can take the grace of it and recognize that every moment has been a teacher. Line from another song called Return to Love. Everything's a lesson. Everyone's a mirror. In everything I do. But when my heart is open and my mind is clear, I know I can return to love. We've often heard the phrase, when we know better, we do better. I have adjusted that. Because better implies that we were doing it wrong. No disrespect to Maya Angelou by any stretch here. But the perspective is, when we know differently, we do differently. And that is the whole, some parts, all of it, of spiritual practice. Is practice, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. So thank you for being a loving support today. My knees have stopped shaking a little bit. And I invite, Katie has her guitar on to just do some breathing into meditation with this today. What I'd like us to breathe in and focus on is balance. That's the word that's coming to me right now. As I stand here doing my job, wanting to do nothing but just stand here and cry, my job and a life calling that I am committed to is that I stand here to guide you through and take myself with it. So balance. The balance of recognizing the pain of being human. And tears of gratitude for recognizing the divinity. It is a beautiful paradox. This being alive thing. This is where I want to stay, in my heart. Letting go of the overthinking, and I invite us to do that, to take it in as an intention in meditation today. That throughout our day, if we can set aside the thinking, set aside the need or the feeling that we have a need to figure it all out at any given moment. To be willing to just live in heart, as painful and as scary as it sometimes might feel. Be willing to open to trusting that there is that is always lifting us, grounding us, embracing us. Because it is never separate from us, it is expressing as us. And for us to be willing in that any given moment to stop and take in the simplicity of that and the enormity of that. Again, the paradox. And if there is anyone on your heart right now, or anyone you are setting outside of your heart, because it might mean you have to let go of an opinion and a need to be right. I invite you instead to be willing to tap into that need to be at peace. God will not stop caring for that person. God will never stop caring for you. God does not ever stop caring for me. So breathe in and let out. If there are tears, let them out. If there's a visual of setting aside for a moment the peace that comes with setting aside the differences, do it. And in the space that needs to be filled in, breathe in love. Breathe in gratitude. Breathe in forgiveness. Breathe in grace. It is with grace and gratitude that I invite you to take a few more deep breaths. And know that I am so grateful for you. All of it. Every single one. grateful for this life. And to know that there is an abiding, unconditional, ever-present love that we are never, ever, ever separate from. So peace on your hearts, my friends. So it is. Namaste. Deep breath. This is a hard transition to make. But it is with grateful hearts, open hearts. It is that place that we do practice our generosity, that we do know that we are infinitely supplied and abundantly supported. I will just say that is the best place to give from, regardless of where you share your financial gifts. To share them in a place where you know you are giving with an open and happy heart. And that if you cannot, if you're not doing it with that, don't. Because the energy around it is based in lack. Do it from a place where you are moved and inspired, feeling whatever that is, where you know grace is present, that divine moment. We do that here as Unity of Wimberley every month in our board meetings. We decide these places that feed us, fill us as a community. When we see other communities or individuals doing amazing, joyful, healing work in the world, we usually have a list every month at the board meeting. Where do we want to give? Because we know the circulation just is exponentially larger than anything we give in a dollar amount. The good is circulated. We are a tithing church that propagates the good we receive as an affirmation of our oneness with the divine flow. Did you know that in 2004, the Barnabas Connection began from Wimberley United Methodist Church Sunday school class, helping a family in need to connect to critical resources? That's where that began. Since 2006, Unity of Wimberley has supported the Barnabas Connection and Operation Good Shepherd by sharing close to $58,000. These gifts have helped local communities in crisis. Let me go back to that. That means that since 2006, the generosity of this community to Unity of Wimberley has been pretty significant. That's why we're here. Thank you. Why we're still here. Those gifts have helped local families in crisis, given relief to those impacted by the 2015 flood and last winter's storm. Provided back to school supplies for community children, provided donations to the annual Christmas store, and so much more. Every Sunday this month, we will be collecting donations for the Christmas store. You'll see the box in the fireside room. Bring new unwrapped items with the price tag on them. Please leave the price tag on them. Or you can do contribute a monetary donation. Specifically leaving the price tag on because they do a Christmas store where people can shop for themselves. They know the value, and then the store reprices it so that they can shop in dignity for their families. As we thank you for the gifts that you have already sent, over the years and today and this last week, this last month, we also affirm the gifts you are sending now. We know Spirit is working through us to supply all that is needed for our community and beyond. So let us take a moment to bring these truths into our hearts as we prepare our offerings as the ushers come forward. As a reminder, there are some ways you can share your gifts with Unity of Wimberley. You can see them on your screen now. You can text GIVE to the number on the screen. Yep. Click the donate button on our website, unityofwimberley.com. Mail a check to 455 White Wings Road, Wimberley, Texas, 78676. You can tap GIVE on the church mobile app, and on Venmo, just search for Unity of Wimberley. So as you bring these gifts close to your heart, whether you have them in your hand at the moment or not, if you would, please put your hand on your heart to bless as we say this offering of abundance together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you. Y'all want to do a little singing? Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. I picked the wrong key. Let's finish this phrase and I'll change the key, okay? If you want to hit that note, go for it. I once was lost, but now let's go to A. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see. It is with full hearts, absolutely full hearts, that we bless these gifts together. Together, we bless these gifts and the givers with our love and gratitude. Thank you, Ron. As we move towards the end of the service, I'll take this opportunity to share a few things. A reminder: if you would like to apply to be in service, to serve on the Unity of Wimberley board, please email nominations@unityofwimberley.com for an application packet. There are 3 open seats that will need to be filled for the 2020 term. Application deadline is next Sunday, November 21st. We are currently looking for someone to special serve as our YFM director. Evie Wilkinson has done an amazing job since she took over the program in the spring of 2019. In consideration of her other full-time teaching job, a busy family, and aging parents, Evie feels it is time to pass the baton on to someone, and the next perfect servant leader we know is somewhere in our midst. This is a paid part-time position, and it serves an important role in our church staff and our community. Please reach out to Evie or to Leah if you are interested. Calling all volunteers. We have volunteer opportunities for those who want to serve. You can choose from hospitality, groundskeeping, events, and more. We are also looking for someone to serve as our wildlife manager, and there are people still within our community that can train you in some of the things in those areas. Please reach out to Leah at business, email business@unitywimberley.com for more information. Join us next Sunday. Reverend Jill will be back with her talk entitled Gratitude in All Things. For November, let's practice our conscious gratitude as we write each day in the Start with Gratitude journal. There are many of them out on the table there. Each Wednesday, we're doing a Zoom check-in, a short thing from 6:30 to 7 p.m. Central Time for those who wish to share those gratitudes. Please get in touch with Leah. Leah, you're a busy girl. If you need a copy, there are several out there. You'll see them. Please tune in to Facebook Live every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time. I do Transformation Tuesday on Tuesdays, and Jill does Midday Reflections on Thursday. We do short readings, meditations, little insights just to kind of keep you going through your week. You can drop off your Feed My People donations in the front foyer, or you can send monetary donations directly to Crisis Breadbasket at the address on your screen, P.O. Box 1721, Wimberley, Texas 78676. And please email your questions, your concerns, your prayer requests to both Reverend Jill or me. Minister@unityofwimberley.com is Jill's email address, and asl@unityofwimberley.com is mine. And as a reminder, our chaplain, Cecilia Timone, is available to pray with you in person after the service right up here. If you are here, I don't see anybody here for the first time, but if you're online and you want to get on our mailing list, if you want to join our our private Facebook resource group, please email Leah. If you are here in the room, the blue prayer request sheets are also here. Yellow gratitude sheets. Please, 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 we love to see the gratitudes on those yellow sheets. The blue ones, just so you know, they are confidential. They go in the prayer box. Nobody sees them. We just pray over them. We send them off to Silent Unity, and then those are prayed on again for another 30 days. So if you're feeling hesitant about asking for prayer, know that nobody, not me, not Jill, nobody sees what you've written. Okay? We want you to feel like you can get off your heart what you need to get off your heart. All right. If your information has changed, that's the other thing. There's nobody new in the room, but if your mailing list, if your email address, anything has changed on your contact list, please, again, get in touch with Leah. We'll get it updated so that we can connect. And now if you would please stand as we say, I know it's been a long time. Let's say our prayer for protection together. Andrea, you're on the list, but I'm already into it, so don't worry about it. Just, there's her name in big red letters. Okay. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Here we go. I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release, I let go, I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Thank you, Katie Marie. Thank you, Jeff Stocky.